The Manyamanea were always in the wrong, wanted to eat them, and always gave the slaves reason to capture people, goats, and fowls, and carry off as much gain as they needed. Their hand, their head, their headmen did not approve of this. They wanted ivory only. But the masters and men joined in one chorus. The Maniema are bad, 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 very bad. When near the confluence of Luluamo and Lualaba, I was coming among the people who had suffered very severely at the hands of the slaves, and they would not believe that my small party didn't belong to the bloodthirsty strangers. The women were particularly outspoken, but the worst was to turn out in force and to show us out of the district. Glad that no collusion took collusion collision. It's spelled funny. Collision. Glad that no collision took place. We returned to the principal town, and with the friendly party which we overtook, struck away north. They to buy ivory, and I to get a canoe on the Lulaba. But the rains began, and traveling, as I found, in Maranago in the wet season was killing work. The vegetation is indescribably rank. Through the grass, if grass that it can be called, which is more than half an inch thick at its stalk and 12 feet high, nothing but elephants can walk. Then large belts of primeval forests stand between the districts, and into them the sun, though vertical, cannot penetrate. The rainwater stands in stagnant pools, and the dead leaves decay in the damp soil and make water of the numerous rills and rivulets of the color of such a strong infusion of tea. One feels himself the veriest pygmy before these giant trees. The roots, high out of the soil, keep you constantly looking down, and shot does no harm to the guinea fowls on their tops. The climbing plants prevent you from leaving the ancient path, and I have heard the soko or gorilla growling close by without being able to get a sight of him. Their call to each other is like that of a tomcat. The country is mountainous. The light gray granite of the hills rises through a bed of new red sandstones, looking like islands. Innumerable dells have to be crossed, and the mud and innumerable dells have to be crossed, and the mud of Manganyama is awful. Bad water and perpetual wetting told on us all by caloric symptoms and emaciation. The news of the chiefs caused a gold fever at Ujiji, and soon a herd numbering of 600 muskets made up to us, all eager for ivory. I turned back about 7 days and resolved to remain within the heads of this party during the rains. Their people were away, and they are as kind to me as I could wish. Rest and boiling the water I used have restored me. After this preamble, I may add that slowly and surely the conviction has crept across my mind that all I can, in honesty and modesty, claim in the rediscovery of the source of the Nile, which had sunk into oblivion like the circumnavigation of Africa by the Phoenician admiral of one of the pharaohs BC 600. Herodotus did not believe him because he said that in passing around Libya he had the sun on his right hand. This, to us, who have gone around from east to west, stamps his tale to be as genuine. He put down the sources of the Nile and mountains of the moon of the and the mountains of the moon in 10 to 12 degrees south, and I found both of them and the watershed. Ptolemy, or more probably his predecessors, had received genuine, though oral, information from men who had visited this region, and this is extremely likely because the fountains and mountains abound where no theorist would put them. He makes their waters collect into two lacertine rivers, Tanganyika and Lualaba, extant specimens of those lake and river beds known in South Africa as Malaudzo, and in the north as wadis, both words meaning the same thing, riverbeds where no water now flows. I'm now traveling and trying to follow the western arm of down and have seen enough of it to confirm the information which the Greek geographer or others derived from ancient explorers. The eastern arm of Tanganyika, upper and lower, has been much exaggerated in breadth. I carefully watched its steady flow to the north of for 3 months by means of broad masses of aquatic vegetation, which, but for its current, would be by the means of choking it up, as is the case with Okaro, the Victoria Nyanza. As soon as I shall have ascertained where the western arm joins the eastern, I shall retire and pray that the Almighty may lead me safely home. I have no wish to speak dogmatically of what I have done, and I feel a little sorry that I am in a manner compelled to speak disparagingly of the opinions of modern discoverers of the sources of the Nile. The great mistake of Captain Speke was the eager pursuit of a foregone conclusion, which was when he discovered the Victoria Nyanza, he at once leapt to the conclusion that therein lay the sources of the Nile, and the whole lake being 500 miles down the great Nile Valley and so much away from the sources. As soon as Speke and Grant looked toward the Nyanza and turned their backs on the fountains, and in their splendid achievement of following the river down, every step took them further away from the Capuchinelli. Baker came farther up the great valley than any other explorer in modern times, and his face in the right direction, but turned when some 700 miles from the sources. He seemed inclined to make the lower Tanganyika a second source to Speke's. Those two large rivers begin in a lake. I am glad that he has received some of the honors he deserves. Ptolemy's small lake, Chloe, is a more correct view of Victoria Nyanza and than that given nowadays. As a breadth, the native Arabs might be mistaken, but not in saying that they knew three lakes were a huge Victoria Nyanza has been run in. What? As to breadth, the native Arabs might be mistaken, but not in saying that they knew three lakes were a huge Victoria Nyanza has been run in. No honor seemed to have been given to Dutch lady explorer to given the Dutch lady explorer, though the noble perseverance after losing her two aunts by fever awakens my admiration. She had provided so well for both land and water exploration that had not been honestly enough, no doubt, assured by Speke and Grant that they had already found the sources she sought, and must inevitably, by boat or land, have reached the sources. She came to a great deal further up than Nero's centurions. They say exploration had not become her. They say that exploration was not becoming her sex. Well, considering that 1600 years have elapsed since Ptolemy wrote, and kings, emperors, and all great men of antiquity longed to know the fountains whence flowed the famous river, exploration does not seem to have been very becoming the other sex either. I do not know anything more about her than what has appeared in newspapers. She possesses indomitable pluck and no mistake.